G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today, well, it seems like these things are getting very popular for a lot of people out there. There is a big shift, you know, we loved 5 inches for so long because they had so much performance, but I know a lot of people now, more than ever, they're ripping around some tiny little micro-sized drones, some FPV drones, and getting the full-on FPV experience, because don't let it size fool you. These little, I guess, 2.5 inch sort of things are absolutely little rippers. Now what this is from HGLRC, and look, I don't really like that name, but I've gotten used to saying it because they are making some of the best stuff in the biz when it comes to these little bind and flies. Previously, they made the XJB, so the HGLRC XJB 145. That was an old quad that they did. I'll leave a link up there. That thing was absolutely incredible. It is one of Cal's favorite quads. And what we've got here, we've got its little sister, little brother, the next sort of iteration along. This is the HGLRC Hornet. Now essentially what this is a little micro-size FPV racer, 2.5 inch props. It's bind and fly, not bind and fly, it's ready to plug and play. So you put your receiver in here and then this thing should absolutely scream. So what this is the part 1 review where you put it on the bench, look at the text and the specs and find out, is this going to be the right little micro craft for you? I'm super excited for the tech in here because HGLRC is making some top-notch stuff that's sort of come out of nowhere, and I know they have so many fans out there. So I'm pretty excited to be checking this out. And if you want to see the part 2, that's where we take it out, rip it around, hand over to Grumpy Trev, crash this Cal, hit it with the speed gun, go and watch this a little card should pop up here. Go and watch that video because that's when we're out in the field flying it around. Now, something to show you guys, as well as doing some FPV, I've also been doing a bit of magic. So check this out. Abracadabra, alakazam! Whoa! Stuart, you're so lame, but essentially what this is a bit of a bonus too for you guys, because look, I've got 2 of them. I'm going to be reviewing this one, but someone out there, there's going to be like a giveaway sort of, so check the official rules, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification thing, all that sort of jazz. But one of you guys, you're going to be winning an XJB. So it's going to feel good to give this out to one of my subscribers on there, because look, I love making content for YouTube. I love all the comments you're putting in there and reading, and just I guess the way we interact, and it's nice to know how much you guys enjoy the channel. So someone out there I think is going to be having a lot of fun with their little Hornet as well. I can't wait to ship that off to you. But enough rambling with that giveaway. Let's stick this thing on the bench and get started with finding out why the little Hornet might be the micro little 2.5 inch size quad that you want to rip around. All right, let's do it. Alrighty, so here it is on the bench, and I guess as a bit of an overview before we get started, let's get some boring stuff out of the way. So you do get 6 props. We'll talk about the props in a little bit. It's nice, you get 2 little spare ones as well. You don't get much else besides this dodgy Velcro strap, and I don't really like these Velcro straps, the ones that stick. I prefer the ones you can really crank down, so I'm going to be switching that out probably. But here's the unit itself, and I guess as a bit of an overview, what this is, it's a 2.5 inch, and don't let that size fool you, because this thing, I'm like 90% sure this thing is going to absolutely scream. But essentially what this is, it's a little quad that's an FPV racer that really gives you that full FPV racing experience in a tiny little package. Now, some of the advantage to that, look, it can't carry a GoPro, all that sort of stuff, but this is made for people. They want, you can put it in your lunchbox, you can fly it anywhere, you can take it anywhere. It's very easy to transport. It's not very intimidating or whatsoever. And, you might be able to fly this thing around a playground, or if you've got a small area to fly, something like this is not going to, I guess, upset as many people as some of those big 5-inch racers. Now, one of the first things we should do, let's stick it on the scales, find out how much it's going to weigh, because I know that can mean a lot to a lot of people. And with a couple of props on here, let's put 4 props on. It's coming in at about 80 grams. So you can see if you put a battery on there, you're well below the 250 gram limit. And this thing, you're gonna have a lot of fun. And if you live in some places like Canada, or you don't wanna register in the US with the FAA, you can get under that 250 gram limit with a tiny little quad like this and still have an awesome time. Now this is the plug and play model. There's a frame model as well. I'll link that down below. And I say plug and play because you can see it's got these wires sticking out the top, and that's so you can easily solder up any type of receiver, whether it be iBus, S-Bus, all that sort of stuff. You can simply solder up to here. It's ready to rock and roll. So what we should do now, let's jump in, kick it off with the review. We're going to start at the components, work our way inwards, and then we'll have a look at the design and then the quality, the pros and cons, and find out, is this going to be the right little, I guess, racer for you? And I'm just going to call it the Hornet from now on, just to simplify things in the review. I thought I lost my chopstick there for a moment. I had to, this is a spare one actually, so I don't know where my main one's gone. Anyway, my pointer, I should say, but it is just the chopstick. So flipping it over, let's kick it off with the actual frame itself. So it's a 3mm unibody plate, which means it doesn't have separate arms, anything like that. It feels you know, actually, it does feel pretty stiff for what it is. I don't think you're going to be breaking the frame anytime soon, maybe from a huge drop onto concrete. But because it's so light, these frames, you know, it doesn't have much mass going into a crash. It seems to hold up pretty well. Now, on the outside, this is where we've got some of the stars of the show, as well as the electronics, because honestly, HGLRC, they are making some really, really good kit that I know a lot of people are using in their builds. So essentially, on the outside, what we've got, these are some 1106 motors, and check this thing out. These things are 6,000 kV. Now, it's only really rated for a 3S battery, and I think that's all you want on something this small, and it's still going to have plenty of power. So I'm going to flash a picture on the screen for these, you know, and because they're such a light motor as well, that's going to help keep that weight down. They spin these little props, which essentially they're just the 2540s, the little tri-blade. These are unbranded ones. They look very much like the Gemfan ones, though. Actually, is it a branded Gemfan one? Okay, so it did, just my mistake. It did come in just an unbranded piece of plastic bag, but they are actually little Gemfan ones. So there we go. We've got some Gemfans right there. These props are pretty good for the 2.5-inch size, and it's nice that you get 6 of them. And then moving towards the middle, you notice, you know, a big trend in all of our quads nowadays, we don't really have individual ESCs anymore. What we've got 4-in-1 ESCs, and that's what we've got in here. We've got like a little HGLRC stack in the middle, and there are some really good kit in there. Very reliable. I know a lot of people enjoy them. So on the bottom, let's get some of these specs out of the way. I guess for our, we've got a 20 amp burst ESC, which is absolutely crazy. That's BOHELES, so that's on the bottom plate. I'll flash a picture on the screen as well. On top of that, we've got our F4 Omnibus as well with Betaflight OSD, so you can have an OSD when you're flying around, which is look pretty standard nowadays. And then we've got a little, and this is all in this 20 by 20 stack size. And then on the top, we've got our VTX, which has like heaps of different power levels. I think it's pit mode, 25, 100, 200, or 350 milliwatts. So you can really customize this thing out, I guess, based on where you're flying. It's nice to have that many options. Nice big display. On the top, of course, we've got our little UHFL connector on the top, which I do wish that was one of those MMCX or whatever it's called, one of the other connectors, but I guess you can't complain too much, especially considering the price, because I mean the price of this thing is actually pretty good value. And then we've got a little dipole antenna on the end of this. Now you do need to put your own receiver in, and I do think it's going to be a very tight fit if you want to get it in here. You might have to mount it on the top, which is a little bit of a shame. I wish if this was just a little bit taller, you might be able to put it in, and I don't think you're going to be able to put anything like a run cam split or anything like that in here. But anyway, you can see exactly what channel you're on. On the back, some of the other extras, we've got like a little buzzer, all that sort of stuff, some little LEDs, and then we've got our camera on the front, which look, it's a 2.3mm lens, and essentially that's just pretty much like a clone of a little split. So in the past though, I have used these things and they seem to go pretty well anyway. On the front, you've got a little bit of camera adjustment, but something I do want to point out is, let's see if I can show you guys this. When you're going to adjust this, you know, you loosen these two screws on the side. You've got to be careful with how much clearance is between this and the actual, oh, it actually does clear. There we go, my mistake. So you can see in here, you can actually get some extreme tilts on this. I thought this was going to clip, which is something, looks like they've just taken that into consideration. You can get some extreme tilts. So if you want to go very, very quick, maybe do some crazy sort of acro flying, you might actually be able to do it with this and the crazy tilts that you get. Now, of course, it's an XT30 on the back, which is the battery, I guess, connector that I would be using on some of these smaller ones because it's lighter and all that sort of stuff. And I just don't think you need the big XT60, at least on a 3S with only 2.5-inch props. And then it is nice, you get this little sort of non-slip battery pad on the bottom as well. Now, I guess moving on, talking about the design of the thing, look, it's nothing too amazing. The design is pretty standard, I guess. You know, it's just a tiny little drone. It's like a full-size racer sort of shrunk down, and you're still going to get that FPV experience, you know, and it clips on the bottom. This is sort of a fairly standard way of doing things now. The two screws that come through that hold that sort of top cage in. I would say you do get pretty good camera protection, unless you're going to be hitting a flag or something like that, a little branch. If you get unlucky when it's flying along, it is going to possibly damage your camera. But other than that, I think your components are well protected, and you're not really going to be breaking too much, essentially because of how light this thing is going to be. Hopefully it's just going to be bouncing off some of those trees. Now, I guess the next thing to talk about would be the quality, and I've got to give it to HGLRC. I've got to give it to them with their XJB in the past. I know that was outstanding quality. So many people enjoyed flying that, and that's why I keep rambling on about it, because look, it really was amazing. And I know like this stack here, that's been used a lot in some really premium builds. So I know that is in the massive droner that I spoke about earlier, the Catalyst Machine Works little one. they actually used, you know, some parts of these internals in one of their builds. So this, I know there's the stack in here and the quality, everything is going to go really, really well. As far as the soldering, well, I'm going to give it maybe a 6 out of 10. It's not the best that I've seen. It's not the worst that I've seen, but I could probably do a better job if I was going to do it myself. I'd definitely be putting a little bit of hot glue over the top of this, sort of, you know, so they don't break off. And also right here, I'm a little bit worried that this antenna might be snapping off, so I'd make sure I put a bit of hot glue over this connector right there. So that's sort of, because the last thing you want is for this to get ripped off, even though it does go through this center hole, the last thing may be ripped out or something like that, and then you burn your VTX out. Another little quality feature too is you can see they've actually taken the time, and so many companies need to do this because I know FuryBee doesn't do this and it frustrates me, but they've zip tied down these little wires right here, so you're not going to be cutting your motor wires or anything like that. You've got a zip tie on your XT30 lead, so those are things that I'd be doing on my craft, you know, so that's really good. I guess the cable management is nice here. That's a little nice touch to detail, attention to detail that most of the companies seem to be missing. So look, for the quality, that's an extra bonus points there. And then finally, I guess that moves us on to the pros and the cons. And I guess the only really con I can think of is you got to put your own receiver. So if you want to, you know, if you want to bind and fly, this isn't it. It's plug and play. You do have to solder your own receiver in there. It's not really going to fit very easily, especially to, you know, if you want to put in an iBus receiver or something like that. Some of those bigger ones aren't going to fit well because it really is such a small form factor and it can't carry a GoPro. So you're probably not going to be getting any HD footage off this thing. But the pros, on the other hand, if you can accept that and you're not building around, you know, trying to get that footage, it should be plenty zippy enough. You're going to get a full-size flight experience. It's got a super light weight limit, so you don't need to worry about that. It's not going to be intimidating. It's going to be very, very quick, and I'm going to say the quality and the flight experience you're going to have when you're actually flying this around, I'm expecting great things because I've seen great things in the past from their other products. Also too, it's not really the quad itself I'm talking about here, but the batteries you buy for these things, you know, like it's recommended to run like on a between 500, 600 milliamp hour 3S pack. They're actually pretty cheap versus some of the other like 4S, you know, massive big ones that are out there. So the batteries for this thing, that's an extra little bonus, are going to be very cheap as well. So that's it on the bench, and I guess I love the internals. I think they're doing something right. I like the price of this thing. I mean, I think it's about $200. You'll have to check the link down below, but I think HGLRC are making some great kit, and I'm honestly really excited for the part 2. Alrighty, so there it is. There's my review of the HGLRC Hornet. I keep wanting to say Little Hornet, but there it is, of the Hornet. And overall, for the techs and the specs on this thing, I'm super impressed. I think it's going to be an absolute little monster. Of course, it's running up to some really stiff competition when it looks at things like the massive droner from Catalyst Machine Works, and that was a really, really cool craft. You can go and watch that video. That should pop up right there. That thing was a little ripper, but I think this one, a lot of people are going to be happy with this, especially considering the price. You know, it's pretty budget friendly, and it should be a lot of fun. So I can't wait for the part 2, so definitely let's go and watch that video now, because I know this thing is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm expecting a lot of people, you know, you're going to be seeing a lot of videos of this in the future. Anyway, on that, what do you guys think? Drop your comments down below. Make sure if you want to enter the giveaway, check the official rules, all that sort of stuff. Put your comments down below. Subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying. Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.